Welcome back. We mentioned that two extremely important points to think about when we want to use genetic algorithms are: first one is how to represent the solution, the encoding or representation. The second one is how to evaluate the solution, how basically the fitness function, how do we check whether a solution is good or not. Now the idea I'm going to have here, if you remember from the slides, we said because we have 5 dashes, we compare first against second, second against third, third against fourth, and fourth against fifth, and each of these pairwise comparisons will check for the collinearity and adjacency. So either two dashes are collinear and whether they are adjacent. If these two conditions are true, then that comparison will count as 1. And because we do 4 pairwise comparisons, if the result is 4, that means those 5 dashes actually do form a dashed line. And this is exactly what we are doing here. We're just creating 2 array lists, this one for the first group and the second one for the second group. Remember, we have groups of 1s and 0s now. And we loop through the chromosome, we loop through the actual bits now of that chromosome, and we check if the value is 0, then add it to the first list. If the value is 1, then add it to the second list. Right? So split it now into 2 groups of, the one has values of 1s, the other one has values of 0s. And here I just print out the current chromosome, right? I print out the actual chromosome, so the 1s and 0s. You'll see that when I show you when I run the program. And what I do here is I just call a method called list is dashed line, and I send it the first list, and again I send it the second list, and I check the result. Now I'm saying here, if the result of the first one is 4 and the result of the second one is 4, that means the 2 groups of these small dashes do form 2 dashed lines. Return -1, else will return the result 1 plus result 2. So this will be the fitness of the current chromosome, right? This is what we use to compare the chromosomes, if you remember from the previous video. I hope the idea makes sense. Of course, here, if the first one returns 4, then the other one will automatically return 0. So you can actually remove that part if you want. I'll just leave it here for demonstration purposes. And return -1. If you remember, when we actually checked the fitness of the loser, we said if it's -1, then we found the solution. That's what I return from here. I can, for example, return 8 or something like this, right? And here, if the 2 groups don't form dashed lines, then maybe the fitness of the first one will be 3, maybe the second one is 2, that's 5. That's what we use to compare the 2 chromosomes and pick up a winner and a loser, right? Now that method that checks for whether the group of dashes make up a dashed line, what it does, it just loops through the elements and then compares the first against the second against the fourth, and we check for collinearity and for adjacency. So collinear dashes and adjacent dashes, these are 2 methods. We send them 2 dashes and we check if the condition is true, then we increase the number of collinear adjacent line segments, and then we return that. So we count how many adjacent and collinear line segments in this list of dashes. I hope the idea is clear. I know it's clear, it's simple. Now the adjacent dashes method just receives 2 dashes, gets back the actual coordinates, and then finds the distance and returns checks the distance between the points of the 2 dashes. If it's less than dash separation, then return true, i.e. the dashes are adjacent, otherwise return false. Now the reason I compare 4 values here, because I don't know I'm assuming I don't know the order of the xy coordinates, x1, y1, x2, y2 of the first dash, and then likewise for the second dash. So what if I assume that what if the order is actually dash 2 and dash 1 rather than 1 and dash? That's why I compute and compare these 4 distances. You can do it the way that suits your requirements if you want to change this. And then collinearity, likewise we check for collinearity. Here what we do is we have x1, y1, x2, y2, and then we find the 2 furthest points. If I go back to the slides, If I want to check whether these two dashes are collinear, what I do is I find the two furthest points, i.e. this one and this one, create an imaginary line, and then find the distance between this line and this point and this point. If they are within the radius of collinearity, then they are collinear, otherwise they are not. By the way, one thing I didn't explain yet is this class utility. In it I have the methods to find distance, to find maximum number in a double array, minimum number, and dot product, cross product, line to point distance, things like that, right? I am sure you understand how we use dot product and cross product to find the distance between a point and a line, right? What else? I think that's it. If the fitness of the chromosome we have is -1, so the two groups of dashes do form two dashed lines, then we return -1. Both of them will return 4, 4, so we return -1, and then we exit the program. And then after we exit the program, right before, I'm sorry, we display a result. So what I say here, just send the tournament number, what iteration is it, and then we send the index of the loser chromosome, and then using the index of the loser chromosome we can print the actual dashes, right? So I have a method here called print dash. What it does, it receives the actual dash from the dashes array. Remember, if you remember the dashes array we saw in the last video, and it just prints out x1, y1, and x2, y2. Print dash, this one here, right? Returns dash x1, y1, x2, y2. Remember, we're using IDs of the elements in this dashes array of dashes, right? So enough talking. Starting here, I can run the program, and the results will be as follows. So let me just like this. So here it's looping, is printing out each current chromosome, and then change the chromosome, and then print it out again. In some cases you can see no change happens in the chromosome because no mutation and no crossover takes place, but in the end we keep trying and changing and trying and changing, and then after 221 tournaments we do find the solution. If I run it again, then this time 226 tournaments, we run it again, 44 tournaments, and it's saying, you know, dashes forming one liner, this dash, this one, this one, this one, this one, and if you can actually observe them, the solution is correct, and these ones also form the other dashed line. Now I'll leave you with the code. You can download it, play with it, maybe change values. For example, if I change this to 16 rather than 6, yep, save and run, then it loop, and then the exit condition of the reaching the maximum number of tournaments will be met. So no solution is found because these these dashes don't make up to two dashed lines, right? Let me just undo that. But as I said, you can, by the way, you can find the link to the source code underneath this video. Feel free to use it and change it according to your needs. Thank you very much for watching. In the next video and the ones after, I will start explaining how to use genetic algorithms to solve permutation problems. So there I will prepare an example where the order of the dashes does not really matter, right? So thanks again, and see you next time.